Hi guys, today's going to be an episode talking about basically what we've been through for the last week, right?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. We moved to Florida not too long ago, and
a year ago.
Basically we experienced. If you haven't heard on the news, there was a big hurricane that went through, hit Cuba, then hit Florida.
Puerto Rico too.
No, that was another one. That was Fiona or whatever.
Oh.
And then it left, and it's actually, I think it's now, or maybe it's just already passed, hit the Carolinas, like Myrtle Beach got it bad. Our friends there, I want to reach out to see what happened to them. Big storm surge. Not as big winds as what we got, but yeah, basically, I mean, I've been through storms before. I've been through one in Florida, actually, 2 years ago. But we both were. It was a Category 2, and we didn't think much of this one, I guess, at least at the beginning when this was coming, right?
Yeah, I guess I was pretty calm all the way till, when you woke me up and we got to go. It's her storm Category 4. We got to leave. I'm like, but I thought we would be okay. Something in me told me our house would be okay, and I actually wanted to stay to live through it, but
she's more crazy than I am. Well, no, you know what?
How did it come about? Because honestly, I think I told you, I haven't really been watching the news or anything. So how did it go from did they actually just announce it as Category 2 and then it just how did it happen?
So for me,
when did you first hear about it?
I heard about it on Friday. So the hurricane hit on Wednesday. So I heard it on the Friday before. I was talking to a friend that just moved to Orlando, and she's like, Krisia, have you heard? What do you know about this hurricane that they're talking about that's gonna,
because she's never
Florida?
experienced
And it was, she just got here a month ago, and I'm like, hurricane? I said, yeah, I haven't heard anything about a hurricane. And I asked Tom, did you hear something about a hurricane? Tom was like, no. And that same day, I think our neighbor knocked the door and said, you guys better prepare because there's a hurricane coming.
I think I did hear about it, but I got it confused because, literally a week before that, there was a hurricane, a pretty bad one too, that, not as bad as this one, but it's still a pretty bad one that hit Puerto Rico, right? Mm-hmm. Fiona. And that one kept on going north through the Atlantic and then ended up actually hitting you guys in Canada. But probably in Canada, you just got rain and stuff, right?
We just got rain. Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So then when I heard, and it's a hurricane season in the Caribbean, right? I mean, that's just what happens. I don't know how is it with your family in Barbados? Do they just get used to it?
Yeah, they do get hurricanes and things like that. It's not usually too crazy, but there has been times where it has hit them pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I guess it's a normal part of living in the Caribbean area, including Florida. And so I heard about it, but I also didn't think much about it because then I saw some news from Puerto Rico that, I mean, not to make it sound like thing wasn't as dangerous there, but Puerto Rico it's more because the infrastructure is not there, so it just shut down their infrastructure and people don't have electricity, I think, to this day, and so that I kind of heard about it, and then I was like, whatever, it's Florida is pretty good, the way the buildings, building codes here and infrastructure, everything. So I just, again, I didn't worry about it. Then when I think, or maybe it was our neighbor from across the street, when he told me.
He went that same day, I remember that he knocked on the door and told us about it.
Yeah, so that was a Friday, right?
Get water and.
Yeah. So I think it was that Friday before, and then just heard about it, and then that's when I checked on the news that it was, I think it was about to hit Cuba at that time. And there was a Category 2 or 3, something like that. Yeah. And it's hitting Cuba.
So before it gets to a Category 4, it's just a tropical storm. So that's
no. So there's tropical storm, different categories, and then it goes to hurricane Category 1, 2, and and it's measured. It's kind of deceiving too because they just measure the wind speeds within the eye of the hurricane. But sometimes, even if the wind speeds aren't as big, it can still be actually more deadly, right? Because it can bring storm surge and stuff, which, again, it's you find out all of these things when you live through it.
Yeah, you learn about it.
Yeah, so like I said, having lived through a hurricane already once here in Florida, where...
that was a tropical storm, you said.
No, that was a hurricane. It was a Category 1 or 2, I forget now, but it was stronger, and then it started actually weakening as it came. But I remember, nobody took it seriously, that we were here, and I remember I went to the store even the night before, and like people were like, on the news, of course, they make everything sound like, oh my God, you're gonna die, grab your children, you run.
That's their job.
Yeah, exactly. So I do remember that one, and I remember like you stayed home with the kids. I went to like Publix to get something to like, because it was like, oh, just in case, we'll get it. And I went to Publix, and these girls are there, like the cashier, and like teenage girls, and I'm like, you guys leaving for the thing? And they're like, what? Why? There's a hurricane coming. What? No, whatever. It's just another hurricane. They're like, locals living here, so they're like, whatever. Who cares? So to me, this was all like new, and. But yeah, I mean, that wasn't that bad. I mean, it shook the house and all that stuff, but the kids slept through that one. And then the next morning, I remember the fence fell over in that house. It was a rental that we were staying at. And so I didn't think much of it. There was a bit of flooding, but again, not much. And like kind of 2 days later, life was like back to normal. I don't even think we lost power, right? Or we lost for a little bit.
No, if we did in the middle of the night. But like when we woke up, there was
power. That's really not bad.
Yeah. So
that the people left a flashlight, just a couple of flashlights.
Oh, the people were renting from.
Yeah, it was an Airbnb. We were.
That sounds like it was just like a bad storm.
Well, basically, I mean,
it was. So that's basically what. I wasn't thinking that it was that bad. I mean, once I saw
there was some damage in that storm, but again, it's people in Florida are used to it, I guess.
To that type of storm.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I think I sent you a meme, maybe you can post it, where it shows Floridians when a hurricane comes, like category 1 or 2, they're like, whatever. Category 3, they're like thinking about it. Category 4 and 5, they're running away. Yeah, so and that's literally what happened. Yeah, that's literally what happened, because we were. So again, going back to Friday, we heard about it. My neighbor, they're older people in their 80s. A couple that lives by themselves, and they lived through Hurricane Charlie, which was 14 years ago, right? Or no, 18 years ago, 2004.
Yeah.
And they, and that one was a deadly one, and it hit also directly here where we are, right? We're on the Inglewood, Florida.
Peninsula, the southwest.
Yeah, we're like Florida, in this peninsula. So we're surrounded by water, basically. Mm-hmm. And Charlie hit very close to here, like just a few miles south was the center, the eye. But it did do a lot of damage. Like there was many homes that were destroyed here in Inglewood.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, those really big storms come, they call them once, I think, in 100-year kind of storms. So I also was like, well, the last one was 2004. We still got a lot of time before the next one hits.
But, we still, went to the supermarket, got some pack of bottles of water. I got... I think that's
but it was more because we were like, well, what if for a day or two the stores are closed? Okay, whatever. Right? Yeah. You don't think much that it's thing.
And then Monday came, and I started getting phone calls from the school. From the school here in where we are, and just saying, well, tomorrow the kids are not gonna have school. Right? That was Monday. And then I'm like, okay, so tomorrow the kids don't have school. And, we were following kind of the hurricane, and we knew that it was getting stronger. And, we're like, okay, so we got to go. We got to just in case, let's put everything inside. We don't want anything flying out because, back in 2 years ago, the winds were strong. So we knew that things get blown away. So if it was even stronger than that, we're like, oh, these things are definitely going to fly. Yeah. So we went to, we have a couple of rentals here. So we went to the rentals and put everything inside, make sure everything was okay. And in our house, also we put everything away. But we also started boarding up the windows. And what made you?
No, that wasn't on Monday yet.
No, that was Tuesday.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know that on Friday when I was finishing work, because I'm working on a couple films now, but it's all like remotely done. So I was already talking to the producers, and I was telling them like, Monday we have this hurricane coming, so I might not have internet, or sometimes power goes in and out. So just wanted to get you guys ready that next week, I might have some disruptions, but I just thought like for a day or two, right? So then Monday came, and nothing was really like the weather. It maybe got a little cloudy, but otherwise
cloudy, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise it was normal. The internet worked, everything worked. So I was like, nothing. So then I think I completely just chilled up, and my neighbor comes back and he's like, did you get gas? Did you get gas for the generators? You know, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, because yeah, you should get gas because there's running out everywhere. And then that's when I was like, okay, let me go check. And I did go, and I noticed, holy shit, there were like lineups everywhere around here, and you couldn't get gas. So that's when I even called like you to tell your parents to be like, hey, tell them to maybe just in case, you know, they need gas because there might be shortage.
They live like 7 minutes away from our house. From where we are, 1 minute.
Yeah, they're very close to us. So so that was thing. And then Tuesday, I think that's when I started hearing this is category 3 and it's strengthening, right? Because it already passed Cuba and it's heading to Florida. And at this point, they still didn't know.
They were thinking Tampa.
They were saying Tampa.
It's going to
maybe
Tampa.
Even like the panhandle of Florida, like Tallahassee, but most likely Tampa, right? So we were like,
Tampa's
okay.
like right smack in the middle of
the western coast of Florida.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh man, like category 3, it's gonna, create some disruptions. But I was still like, I remember I was even getting my camera ready. I'm like, I'm gonna get some good footage, Sorry, I'm doing this project actually where I needed some footage like that. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. I'll get some footage and stuff like that. But that's when I was like, okay, but you know what? Maybe I should board up the windows because category 3, you're already having like, what is it? I think it's over 100 miles an hour winds. So if something gets blown up in the air, like let's say somebody forgot their launcher or something, and that goes flying at 100 miles an hour, which is what is it, like 200 kilometers an hour almost. I mean, that thing is gonna it's gonna break your windows, right? So that's
easily.
And that's when I noticed all the neighbors were
that
boarding
was Tuesday.
up.
Tuesday it rained all day, but it wasn't like a hard rain. It was just this tedious rain. It was just raining the whole day.
And we were like, okay, let's board up. Remember, we were like making videos, having fun.
Yeah,
like we're boarding up.
You know what? Let me go get some more candles just in case, we lose power. Let me get candles, all these things just, just in case.
Yeah, and I was like, we'll write it out, we told the kids like, it's going to be tomorrow no school. And they were excited. Okay.
Oh, no, but I mean, they were like, no school, but I want to go play with my friend.
Really? I don't know.
They told me.
Adam was saying this.
Adam he doesn't want to go.
So then, so that was thing. And then I did board up the windows. And it's funny because whatever I had, like I found pieces of like wood in the backyard somewhere and just like literally, whatever I had, I think, because I had a few storm shatters that a neighbor gave me like a year ago. She didn't need them. So I was like, let me attach them. So and they actually managed to kind of make it work with our front windows. But in the back, I didn't have. So I just used like scrap piece of wood. It looked horrible. It literally looked like our house looked like homeless people.
The ones that you sent me the picture of?
Yeah. It looked like an abandoned house that, they boarded up with whatever junk we found in our backyard.
And then I just remember that Tuesday night, we went to sleep. I was totally like, Wednesday is when the big thing is going to hit.
I thought that the power was going to go out. I didn't think it was going to go out for as long as it did.
Yeah. So basically,
some candles.
So basically, they said it's going to make landfall in Wednesday or the Wednesday. They didn't know when, morning or in the afternoon, but somewhere.
They kept changing. They kept changing the time.
And then we went to sleep. And through the night,
I went to sleep.
Tom, she was snoring.
Tom couldn't sleep. He was snoring.
So when did they give the because I had read that they had an evacuation thing. Was that?
So they were giving it already. Monday they already gave to because there's different flood zones. So flood zones A and B.
Yeah.
We're in flood zone C. So her parents live in flood zone B. So I told them Monday, are you guys leaving? And their parents are like, nah.
We were actually telling them to come and stay with us.
Yeah.
Because they're where they live, it's little
really
rain and it just floods.
It floods their
Doesn't
street.
matter. So we were thinking, forget about a hurricane. They're not going to be able to leave at all. And my parents were like, no, we're just going to stay home, okay, till the end. And then, Tom was telling me, tell your parents. I felt like I was telling Tom, listen, I want to cry. I'm telling them this to come over here. They don't want to come. What else can I do? I mean, they're 65 years old. They're set in their ways, and they just want to ride it out. And I was like,
Well, how long have they lived there?
Also, as long as us, he moved with us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if this was their first or if
This
they've
is
been through
also
many
their
of these
first.
or.
They moved in January. I mean, they've been here since last year, but they got their apartment in January.
But yeah, I guess maybe because we used to travel before to Florida, and I you know, so like I said, I had more experience being here. But yeah, so I remember that I went to sleep, you know, and then I woke up in the middle of night, like Tuesday basically or Wednesday morning. Because it was suddenly I hear like this bang, bang.
No.
At first I thought somebody like banging on the windows, but I boarded them all up, so I can't see anything.
We were in the dark.
Yeah, and
Since
so
like 3:00 in the afternoon.
and then I opened the door like in the lanai, and you know, to go to the backyard, and holy man, that's when I felt like this wind picked up and the rain, and all these branches are falling. I'm like, oh, I think it's the branches falling, right? But I'm like, man, this is already looking pretty bad, even though it's, you know, it's still like hours away.
Just starting up.
So then I'm like, let me just check the phone. And I go and just turn on the phone, and then you get this alert. Immediate evacuation, all those flood zones, right, in our county. And I'm like, what? So at first I'm like thinking, no, this is probably exaggerating and thing. But then I check, and it says the hurricane strengthened to Category 4, which is over 100, what is it, 45 miles an hour, I think it is?
155.
No, and up to 157, I think. And over 157 or 57 and 157 miles or stronger is Category 5. And then it says, with the possible that it's going to turn to Category 5, which is the deadliest one ever.
And tornadoes.
And tornadoes, yeah.
And tornadoes.
And
Wow.
then storm surge, like flooding, which for those of you who don't know, it basically means that it pulls the water from the ocean and it just pushes it, and it's like a tsunami wave. So when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, you know. And we bought this tiny little house here in Florida that was cheap. It was supposed to be like a rental for us. We weren't really planning to live there.
Yeah.
Long story short, we end up living there. And so it's this rickety wooden house that's been, you know, it's an older house. And so I was like, you know, the people have other homes that are now like modern homes that are built like really sturdy, you know, from concrete and cinder blocks. Ours is just like sticks and like has a little, you know, siding, and that's it. I mean, you kick it too hard and that house can can break in.
Well, no. Now we
So
know.
no. So yeah.
You
So
kick it, no.
but it's interesting because
People thought that. Everybody thought that. Forget about it. Krisia's house is going to be the first one to be wiped out from.
yeah. And,
by this
but
hurricane.
interestingly enough, it was I think on that Monday or Tuesday, whatever, I forget now, when I was boarding up the windows, the neighbor from across the street came, right, the older couple, and they've been here, you know, for like also 30 something years.
Yeah.
So they've been here, you know, for a long time, and they've seen what happened to the house that we're living in. And he told me, he said during Hurricane Charlie in 2004, is that you know, all these homes got destroyed. It was really bad. I mean, like, I forgot what's the percentage, but like huge number of homes, it was just complete destruction. And he said, I don't know how, but your house, nothing happened to it. And I'm like, what? Because yeah, the people who lived there were like kind of these bums who were renting the house, and they didn't even bother covering the windows, nothing. Like, and it has these old cheap windows, they're not even stormproof windows. And he goes, I don't know, your house just thing. And then our whole street flooded. Except your house. Your house was like a little island. I was like, really?
It's got a circle of protection.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. so I was like laughing, but then I thought, so maybe we'll be fine. But like I said, Wednesday morning when I woke up and I saw those winds and then those warnings, that's when I was like, you know what? We've done everything we could with the house and the property, whatever. Let's just get out of here. Like, if you know, if the house flies away, at least it doesn't fly with us, you know, especially because we have small kids.
We also moved a few, you know, things
Yeah,
that we
so-
have, right? So
Well, first I woke you up and I was like, let's go. I remember you were first like, no, they're really, I'm like,
I
yeah,
told
they're
him
saying.
I don't want to go. No,
Yeah.
Thomas like, no, we gotta go. It's Category 4.
Yeah, possible Category 5.
I had already packed because Tom said, you know, just pack something just in case we got to leave. And I packed and I was like, let me just pack it, right? Just in case, you know, like a change of clothes for the kids, myself, and for Tom, right? And shoes, because I was thinking, man, we're going to get wet and let me just pack shoes. But I did that the night before. And yeah, Tom wakes me up. I don't know, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, you know, get dressed. We got to go. It's a Category 4. We have to evacuate now. Now, you know, one thing you got to know about Tom is that sometimes he exaggerates. I love him, but he could exaggerate.
Sometimes.
Okay, quite often he could exaggerate, but he's more like, better safe than sorry, like exaggeration type.
Well, I'm not the one to panic. No, like I said, like
He wasn't panicking. but
I'm
he's
just
like,
I'm just like, better be safe and nothing happens than be not prepared, and then shit happens and you're like sorry for it, right?
Exactly. No, that's good
kinda,
philosophy to have.
yeah.
So so I got dressed. The kids, I just took them in pajamas. Doesn't matter.
But I remember then it's like this survival mode, because I'm thinking in terms of, I wasn't worried that, because I'm like, well, we're going to get out of here and we'll be fine. But I'm thinking I got to save as many things as I can, because, it's like your livelihood, like all the things for work. So then I'm thinking, okay, number one thing, and next time I'm for sure going to get ready like in that way already, because then I was thinking, well, we can't just leave all these things in the house. I was like, screw the clothes, screw, all these whatever nice little things we bought. But most important, documents, right? Like the birth certificates, passports, all these things.
Yeah,
like,
that could get wet, right?
Yeah.
If we get flooded, then those things are the first ones to go.
So I'm like, okay, where's all the stuff? Throw it all in one bag. Then,
Good thing we already had them in like three things. Like just throw those 3 things in one suitcase and take
That's
them.
when your brain is like, I noticed, at least for me, it's like, okay, do through this. Then I was like, okay, for my work, what I need, I got multiple cameras and all these things, but I'm like, okay, I need at least one camera. I need a laptop. So I start packing all these things, just throwing it. And of course, my car was like, because I was doing some renovation in one of the homes. So I had like all this junk in my truck. I'm just throwing stuff in the back of it. And you got to remember, this is already like pouring and rain. And
now the rain was stronger by this point. It was really, really strong, and winds really rained the outside.
And then that's when I realized, looked outside, because at first they were saying the storm's going to be north of us. So we were going to get the leeward side of this thing. So meaning we would have southerly winds. So I prepared everything. When I say everything, I mean like the things that were outside that I couldn't hide. Like, we have RVs. I have multiple these trailers that I use for work, for like moving my ATVs. I have a boat, like things like that. Right. So all these things I kind of positioned it so that they would be sort of shielded from the wind in case it comes from the south.
Yeah.
Now suddenly they're saying category 4, possibly category 5. It's going to hit right directly where you are or south of you. Means either the winds are going to come from the east or they're going to come from the north. And I'm like, well, that just throws a wrench in everything that I just did, because
we had done
the
that
day
the
before.
Day before, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I told Krisia, I'm like, you get packed the bags and get everything ready. I got to go outside and move all these things. And basically, finally, I moved a few other things like in the backyard. But finally, I just, we had this giant one trailer that we have. And I was like thinking,
brand new.
Yeah, I'm like, where do I park this freaking thing? Because the way it was parked, I'm like, it was gonna get hit broadside with the wind. So I'm like,
gonna find it.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's just gonna fly away. And I remember I dressed specifically because it was already so bad and outside.
He was wearing his bathing suit.
I was just put on my bathing suit, flip-flops, and I'm like, I'm just going to get soaking wet. And I ran out. I hooked up. I've never hooked up that trailer that fast, because it's like a 10,000-pound trailer.
Or parked it that fast.
Yeah. And then I pulled that thing down the street.
Now I know you can do it by yourself. You don't need me.
Yeah. And I shoved it in between like these trees. Yeah, I kind of shoved it in between these trees.
But like
and it's dark.
Parallel to the house, right? So because before it was parked on the driveway, so
it was just exposed.
It was just really
exposed. Whereas now it was kind of thing.
Parallel, hidden in some bushes.
Yeah, and so I remember I was thinking that like either it's gonna be good there, or one of the trees is gonna get broken and it's gonna fall on top of it and it's gonna crash it. But I was like, well, that's the best I can do. And I remember you even said, it's insured. It's insured. Okay, fuck it. We're going.
Do we have insurance for this? Yes. All right. So just leave it there. Let's go.
And then I remember like I looked at the boat and the ATVs, all that stuff, and I'm like, I think they're good. I mean, it's as good as you can get. Yeah. And then I was debating, maybe we should grab one of the trailers and go. But then when I saw the winds, I'm like, it's gonna shake the cars.
Should we take the RV? I'm like, what about the winds? No, it's very so. No, I was like, no, just leave it, because we've driven with the RV with winds, and it's not fun.
it pulls your car and
Yeah,
you know
so-
that stuff. So I knew.
Oh, yeah, when we keep like fishtail, right?
Oh yeah.
no.
So I knew once we get on the highway with open, you know, like there's nothing to shield you from the wind. It's probably going to be really bad. So
We
so
probably could have
Yeah.
made it, I think.
but it would have been bad. And then
It would
yeah,
have
and
been
then
bad.
you know threw the kids in the truck. You went in the van, and then
Me and the dog.
yeah,
the
and
two of
then
us
and
in
I'm
the-
like,
in the
you
van.
stay on the phone and you follow me because it's pitch black too, and you know lights were already going out.
Yeah.
And I remember we started driving, and oh man, once we came out of our little street, which has all these streets, trees, or had all these trees, we went out onto the main street, and we noticed like this wind. It's throwing the cars around, and I felt it. I have a pretty big pickup truck, so I'm like, oh man, she probably feels it in that little car.
Oh man, I was praying the whole way. I was like, "Oh my God, please, let me just get to where I have to go. You know, we'll be okay."
'Cause you didn't want to drive, but
I
at
did
one
not
point you
wanna
pulled
drive.
over and you stopped, right? And you were like,
Well, I was driving very slow, and then you pulled over, and you're like, "Krisia, it's only like 30 more minutes of this. We can make it.
yeah, because we're
Just
gonna be.
drive." And I'm like, "Okay." So on my car, I was listening to the news, and you know they were just saying Category 4, and the winds and the water, and Fort Myers is underwater, and Naples is underwater, and it's coming for you, Port Charlotte and Englewood and Northport and all these areas around here. And I was really nervous, so I just turned it off and put some.
Yeah, it's better not to. Sometimes not to
I
listen.
put a podcast, you know, some entertainment
that's smart.
podcast, funny, and I just kept following Tom, and just
You were listening to our podcast, right?
of
GalgaTV.
course, yes, exactly. Make sure you listen to us. And you couldn't see anything. You know, when it pours, you know, it was just that bad that I had the wipers like on the fastest, and I couldn't see. I had to go very slow and with the emergency lights on, and then the wind, like Tom said, you know, and here I am driving my little van, and the wind comes and knocks me over, and you know, it's like just knocking me all around.
And
I was
that's when
scared.
I
I was worried because I didn't want my car to slide, you know, create an accident. There were quite a few cars, not a lot, but there
well,
was
at the
a few
beginning, no, but once we got on the main highway, then I started noticing more and
there
more
were
people.
more and more,
yeah.
and I was like looking back, and I'm like, okay, people are leaving. Okay, we did the right thing. Because at this point, I was still thinking, man, I wanted to stay in my house. Why am I driving in this rain? Phoebe,
No, you definitely did the right thing. It sounds like.
Phoebe the dog was sleeping, and I'm like looking back at the dog. I'm like, great, Phoebe's like no good company for me right now, and yeah.
But I started. That's when I started noticing, man, I think this is gonna be bad because that's when streets started flooding already, just from the
Right.
rain. And I'm like, if it's flooding from the rain, what the hell is gonna happen once the storm surge comes? So I still didn't know how bad it was gonna be. And then we once we drove for about an hour north, like we were closer to Tampa. That's when it got much better.
It calmed down. Oh,
And
a
then-
lot.
yeah,
a
and
lot.
then-
Especially the rain.
Yeah, and then we went to the villages, stay with family there. But I remember, like, I was exhausted because I barely slept, right? Because I woke up early,
Right.
and then I'm just like hearing on the news, like, okay, it's getting, and it's like they're saying we think it's going to be Category 5 because it was reaching 150 miles an hour wind, no, 155 mile an
Yeah.
hour, and 157 miles an hour is Category 5. Well, either way,
Right.
it's very
Very
dangerous.
strong.
And then I'm like, you know, call your parents, like, you know, because we called them actually, by the way, when we were
Oh
leaving.
yeah, in the morning at 6:00, 6:30 in the morning. I
Like,
remember.
let's go,
You know,
guys.
I'm
Don't
getting
risk
dressed,
it.
And I called my dad and I said, Papi, we're leaving. I want you guys to come. Let's go. It's a Category 4 hurricane now. And my parents like, no. We're just gonna stay. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I was driving and I'm thinking, oh my God, I did everything that I could do also, right? I mean, I can't force anybody to join us.
Right.
You know, and my parents, they also didn't think it was going to be that strong. But let me tell you, now they know.
Now they're gonna leave.
Now they're going to leave when I tell them, let's
The
go.
next time.
Hopefully it does not.
But
There
they
is
made
no
it.
next time, right?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, there's no next time.
There is
yeah.
no next time.
Yeah.
But, you know, now I think they know because, you know, they had their own, you know, set of problems also dealing with it.
Yeah. So
We'll
anyway,
get to it.
so we escaped, you could say, and then
We
we
evacuated.
were staying with our family, and then. But the whole time I was like, I wanted to go to sleep there, but I couldn't because I'm watching the news and I'm like thinking, oh my God, is the house, is the trailer, is this gonna survive, or Krisia's parents gonna be okay?
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking about all these things, right? And then we have all these other homes that we're renting and stuff, and we're like, what the hell's gonna happen? And
I forgot about all that stuff. I was just thinking about my parents because we were in communication the whole time.
well, yeah, and so I remember like they were sending us messages
and videos. Maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe here. So I remember one of the first videos they sent us, right? And we're kind of because on the news, it's always everything's delayed, right?
Right.
So
But one of the first videos
it
they
was
sent.
around like this video was taken around maybe 1:30, 2 p.m.
Yeah, let me just cut out the audio here.
Well, put the audio, but not so loud.
Yeah.
It gives it, that
No,
emotion.
I know. So anyway, can you see it?
Yeah.
So this was like around like 12 or something like that.
No, around 2 p.m. he sent that to us.
No, not 2 p.m.
Yeah.
I have the timestamp. Anyways, whatever. This is around noon time.
Around noon, 1 o'clock. Yeah.
This is from they're on the second story apartment, and looks bad.
Look, they lost a palm tree already.
That's when he realized you're dead. I think like, oh man, like this is not good. Like, because you could hear him in the video talking at one point. But otherwise, here's Krisia's mom checking her like downstairs, and and
this is strong. So my dad wants the world to know that you see this. When the eye of the hurricane came, it was 10 times this wind.
Yeah.
You couldn't see anything.
Trees must have been flying out of the ground.
Yeah.
You couldn't see anything. You see that white haze? It was like just white. You couldn't see any bushes, any green, nothing. It was just a white cloud that was surrounded. So that was enveloping the whole area.
And so when I saw this video, and I'm like, and then I'm checking the news, and they're saying the eye still hasn't hit, but it looks like it's going. Yeah, that's when your dad realized. And the eye still hadn't hit, but it's heading straight for our area here.
Yeah,
That's when I was like, oh my god, like this is not a joke. So I that's when I was really worried for her parents, because I'm like, damn, like maybe they can still drive out, but
No, there's no way they could not drive out of here. No, this is too much. 90 miles per hour, he's saying.
Yeah.
At this point, it was 90 miles per hour.
Yeah, so this was still about an hour and a half, something like that, before the eye hit.
Because the eye hit around 4 o'clock, my dad said. That's when it started to get, look, the boat is already there. It's already moving, the boat that ended up in the pool.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, that was the thing. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's...
My dad wants you to, if you put this video, if you can just bleep out a few words, because he sent it to us. But he thought it was
I'll put the thing.
Just for the family, and he's cursing.
Whatever, who cares? You can't curse, cut that out anyways. Okay, so this is the thing. And then I remember they were saying that, the eye of the hurricane is like coming, and it's gonna, it's about to hit the area. And then basically the last, we got one more video, I think it was. Let me see here if I can find it. I think this one was, when it was already...
That was a little later. Not yet.
No, it was right before the
right before,
yeah.
But not yet, because, my mom said she was kind of cleaning,
so
they water was coming. But you see the water, how it was
already, the street was flooding, you can see it, right? And this is just from the rain.
Yeah.
This is just from the rain. And they were like inside, and they didn't want to go out. And everybody else, I was like, because all of our neighbors, whoever did manage to or had the bravery or stupidity to stay, was messaging me and kind of also telling me like, oh, what's happening and this and that, and and they were all saying, oh man, it's filling up, the streets are filling up with the thing, and this is just the rain, the storm surge hadn't come yet.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah,
a lot of people died, from what I heard. Yeah,
and so then that's when I started realizing, thinking, my God, I think our whole town is going to be underwater. Like I was like, that's it, right? And then after that, the last message we got from Krisia's parents was, what was it exactly?
Because we were talking, and then I was asked. My parents told me that the lights were cut out at 1. It was done on purpose. It's not that the lights went out. It was cut out on purpose to avoid fires because of the wind, and the electric cables might snap out and create, fire. And,
that's
and so as of one, they didn't have power. And I was telling them, okay, so let's not be on the phone too much because, you know, you're not going to be able to charge these phones.
oh yeah, that's true.
But then the last message, I asked them, do you have power? No.
It was around 2, right?
And then, no, 4:30, 4:25, exactly. That was the last message. And he said, no power, no water. The door busted and our living room is flooded. That was, and they're on the second floor.
So I was thinking, what? The flood could reach the second floor? I'm like, how is that possible?
Wow.
And then that's all we knew. And then
And that's it. I didn't hear from them for 24 hours.
Yeah,
after
and
that.
And then that's when I remember, I think it was this video, one of these videos here on the news. And this is basically Fort Myers Beach. So this is just south of us. Like, again, not very far because we're driving is kind of far because you got to go around because we're on a peninsula. But it's like maybe 15, 20 miles from us. And I saw this is like one of the street cameras.
Wow.
And then look at it. You can see this is, you know, yeah, you can see how the water was rising. And I'm like, and then they started saying, could be up to 20 feet storm surge. So
but
like
they received the storm surge.
yeah,
right?
well here. So I this is all I'm seeing. So I'm thinking, holy shit! Like our house is gone for sure. I mean, all of our homes, you know, rentals, everything, because 20 feet that just covers all of it. And then I thought, you know, I remember
Ocean.
what's that?
That looks like an ocean right there.
Yeah. I mean, literally the ocean came in there. And then that's when I, what's it called? I think I was talking to you, and I was telling you that I think your parents maybe actually, like the storm, actually the flooding reached their second floor. I'm like, because the message they sent and all that, like, look at this. This is really high. And it's already was covering the camera there. So I mean, it's
Tom's
you know,
imagination exaggerating again.
well, no. I mean,
what I got from it is that the door busted open.
Yeah, because I didn't
the
know.
wind. I mean, everything was flooding, and
Yeah.
that's what I understood. But I was thinking, did they get the door closed? What happened? Are they okay? Because
And then basically, yeah, there was nothing. We were kind of sitting in the dark, you could say, meaning like we didn't know. We just heard, reports of this is bad, that is bad,
yeah,
and nothing from our friends or nothing, because all the signals basically were by this point. I guess all the cell phone towers were down. So no cell phone signal or nothing. So nobody could send messengers, and that was it. And then I remember it was a little like nerve-wracking thinking, because by this point I didn't care. I was like, whatever, But when I'm saying I didn't care about the personal things, like whatever, the boat, whatever, is floating somewhere. The house is gone to, and all that stuff. I didn't care, but you're just thinking about all the people, right? And I remember that I was thinking, like, oh my God, are they okay? Are they okay? And so all of Thursday, basically, no, Wednesday, right?
Wednesday, yeah.
Like was like that, and then I was just waiting, like, can I come back? Because I was like, did it get better? Did it not? And then they kept on saying the storm slowed down, meaning the winds didn't slow down, but the eye of the storm didn't move, because normally it will kind of pass by.
It hovered.
Yeah.
From what my parents.
What everybody said after.
It hovered for at least 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours, just in that area, and it was just hovering
and just nonstop.
Wind.
Whereas normally, like Hurricane Charlie, even 18 years ago, that was so deadly. It was about the same speed, but the thing was it moved. It basically took about an hour and a half to pass through our area. Whereas this one, they're saying that it just stayed. So everybody was worried because if you have a wind for really crazy wind for an hour or 2 hours, it's not going to be as deadly as the same wind that just stays there for 5-6 hours, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to keep doing damage.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it was and it was bad, and we didn't know what was happening. And then finally, the next day, Thursday, I mean, as soon as like we were, again, just getting the first reports that, what happened to Fort Myers Beach, which was a video that I just showed, and like. When you start hearing stuff like that, I was like, "Holy shit!" I don't think literally, we have another house, in Pennsylvania. I'm like, I think we're gonna have to pick up and might have to go to Pennsylvania. I mean, like the whole life just changes, right?
Yeah,
and then and I was waiting for reports to hear back, and there's nothing, and then I just, I remember I was telling you, as soon as the roads are open, I hear I want to go back. Right?
I was checking my Instagram, and the governor. Ron DeSantis, he was like updating his Instagram every hour. And so then once I heard, oops, sorry, that was my ring. when I heard a report where he said, okay, the roads are open, 75 South is open. I told Tom, the road is open. And he had a list of all the roads, highways that were opening. And, Tom said, that's the one that takes us there. So it didn't even take him 5 minutes. Tom just grabbed, a few things and he left. I said, you better go check on my parents first.
Yeah. And I remember though, I was thinking, because then also when I was driving, I heard they kept on saying the highway, this highway is open, that highway is open, but they're always, highways, they always usually build them kind of higher away from thing.
Yeah.
But, the doesn't mean that the roads to your town or whatever, and our town is about like another half hour from the highway, and it's on a peninsula, so it's very low ground. And I'm like, can I get through it there? Well, I don't know. And and I remember I was driving, and by this point it was so weird because when I left,
I stayed behind because my van was not going to make it. We were sure that
Yeah.
everything was flooded, and we did not want to try and
Yeah, so I went in the pickup I have like a race pickup truck, and then I know that when I was leaving, we were in the north of Tampa. It was so like rainy there, and cloudy. When I got closer to our town, it's like suddenly so beautiful and like
the
clear.
sun was shining so bright.
Yeah, it was such a weird experience. But then, of course, I get off the highway and it's just you literally go and it's like this water, and I see one car going, another. I'm like, I guess there's a road there, but you can't see the road because it's just this muddy, dirty water. And then I'm starting to get stuck in traffic and all that stuff. And then I'm like, I started getting worried because I realized the water was coming up, even though my truck is high, coming up to the door, the seal of the door on my truck.
Wow. Yeah,
so I'm like,
you're not even gonna be able to drive anymore.
Yeah, so I'm like, if it goes any higher, I don't know if I want to drive because, I don't want to flood the engine or whatever. Sure enough, that's what was happening. All these people came and, I guess, went in their regular cars, or people with SUVs who thought, oh, I have an SUV. Yeah, those SUVs do nothing in a situation like that. They're all getting stuck. So basically, We're stuck in traffic because then, so that half-hour ride from the highway to our town basically took me 2 hours because ever so on we're stuck and we're all just standing in this water and it's like rushing from one side of the street to the other, while ever so on tow trucks or fire trucks would go in and they had to pull people who got stuck with their cars in there. And it was just weird. It was like I saw all this thing like debris. You see sometimes a couch floating by. You're just literally driving through like a little river. And interesting enough, the street that I took is called River Street. It's like one of the main streets here that we usually take.
Oh, that's pretty ironic.
Yeah, yeah. I was texting Krisia. I'm like, I started getting some signal, but it was very bad because I think they started putting up some of the cell phone towers or whatever. But it was very bad signal. So it's like I'm like trying to message her, and I'm like, I'm on River Street, but it's like it's a river, something like that. But it was still kind of like it felt like a little bit like this whole adventure, and then it kind of hit me, man, that life is not going to be the same. Once I drove by
into our main street.
No, once I was on River Street and I passed through that park that's on Vaca River that has all these mobile homes and things. And you didn't see that because the next day when you came, it was already cleaned up. But when I was there, it was full of fire trucks, and then these big military vehicles were there, and they were pulling out basically people, were kids coming up on all these little whatever they had, mattresses, whatever was floating. They were grabbing them, and then I saw one of them, looked like a body bag pulling out a person. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit! Like some people, got it bad. So at that point, I was like I was so glad that we left. I'm like, I'm so happy we left. Who cares about all the things? You can buy more things, you can buy whatever, everything, but you can't buy another life. So
that's
But I was also worried, about her parents because we didn't hear anything from them.
So then,
right.
And then basically, I was going, and then I have to drive through our house basically because they're right at the tip of the peninsula, you could say. So I went by my house, and by this point, you got messages from our neighbor that, the street something is flooded, but your house is okay, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. So I had a neighbor that I was talking to her the night before, or early in the day. I think I was messaging
on Thursday,
her.
On Thursday morning.
Yeah, in the morning because I had asked her when she gets a chance. But actually, I spoke to her the night before, right before.
Oh, she didn't manage.
Yeah, the before everybody lost connection, she said, you know, I'm in a neighbor's house. We're safe, but my roof, I can see my roof flying out.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, oh
she
my
was
God.
across the street.
And we knew that her roof had problems because she had asked us for a favor before.
No, but she has a sturdy house. Like it's a cinder block, like a major, you know. And
Yeah.
our house is like little, like I said, stick built.
I was still not worried about my house at all. I was not worried. I knew my house was gonna be there.
But then the next day she texted you.
And
I
then
think
she
the text
texted
message
us
got
because
through.
we told her if she can go check on our elderly neighbors.
Yeah.
And if she can check on our house. So she did once she was able to walk out. Because I think on our street, the water drains really good. Because she walked.
Well, no, when I got on Thursday, I was there around, I don't know, noon or something. There was water still on
There
the
was
street.
some water.
Yeah.
But anyway, she managed to go around her house and she took photos. So she said, oh, your house is perfect. Nothing happened to your house. Your fence, on the other hand, you know, our fence suffered a little bit. And our backyard, just the trees that we had, some big branches fell off. Like,
And so, yeah, I thought, you know, by that, because I got that message, I'm like, okay, so I guess the house is okay, but probably flooded or something, you know. And I get in front of our house, and it's about a foot of water on the street. But our house is just high enough where it's,
Yeah.
again, like our neighbor said,
good.
it was like a little island, right?
Yeah, I'm happy that you guys didn't suffer like the same like damage as a lot of other people.
No,
had
yeah.
to.
I mean,
we
it's
were
literally
very
like
blessed.
like a miracle. And I got out because I had all these things in the back of the car, so I'm like, I gotta unload everything in the house and then go get her parents. And I remember I opened the door and I'm like, holy shit, like everything looks normal, like inside. Outside it looked like a war zone, like literally trees are down, like suddenly the street, because our street was always kind of felt a little like shaded and dark
Yeah.
because we had all these huge trees on.
Yeah.
Suddenly it feels like it's just like all you see is sky.
We could, before, you know, we had all these big bushes and trees, and we couldn't see behind our house.
We have a
'Cause
canal.
We have a canal, but now we can see the neighbors
Yeah.
on the other side of the canal. Because all those bushes, all the bushes are there, the branches and stuff.
But the trees, no, it's the trees
the
and
trees and the leaves, they're all gone. It's
Yeah.
just bare
like
branches.
we had a huge tree in the backyard,
I
and now it's
know,
half
so
half
pretty.
half its size.
We love that tree.
Oh,
It,
man.
so much so that Tom was like, "Oh, our tree is sick. I'm gonna take care of it." And Tom was like doing things to. take
Yeah,
care
I
of
mean,
that
you know,
tree
like
and-
we have like a bigger property, so I have like a garden in the back, and I had like the papaya trees, banana trees, everything was just like flattened. And but I was like looking at the house, I'm like, holy shit, the house looks okay, but I didn't have time to check further. And then I just ran across the street, asked the neighbors, and the neighbors are like, you know, shooken up, right? They're an older couple
they
in their
were.
80s. But they're like, oh, you're back. We saw that you left. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to wake you guys up, but I'm like, you know, you guys are crazy. Why did you stay? And they're like, you know, we're too old. We don't want to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, how's everything? They're like, no, I think we're okay, but it was bad at night. It was bad. They have these double doors, and they said that the wind, once the eye came, was so strong, it literally, and they had like, you know, the deadbolt on
They
it.
had
like-
boarded it up. They actually put a what?
no, so well, they were basically there, and then the wind literally kicked their doors in. It just blew in it open, and they were there with you know, another couple,
Another older couple, yeah.
that came to stay with them for the hurricane, and they said that the four of them could not close that door. They were just trying all that stuff, and finally, after like hours of trying, all this water already got in the house, like it was just spraying, because by this point the rain was going sideways. So when they managed to like push up like some furniture against it, and then but the door kept on opening, so they literally grabbed a piece of wood from the garage and they used these screws, and they through these beautiful
bolted
doors,
it. It was
they just
beautiful doors.
they just screwed it in, put all these screws, and it's funny because till right now their door, you can't enter to the front door, you have to go through the backyard. Because
Oh,
the-
man.
Or the garage.
because they're like, whatever, we don't want to take it down yet because we think the locks are completely broken, anybody can get in. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, and then I'm like, but you're okay. Yeah, we're okay. Okay, I gotta go check on my parents. Okay, so I jump in the car, I start driving, and yeah, it was, like I said, our street was about a foot maybe of water. There it started getting so bad that like finally it was getting past my door, my truck door, and I'm like, okay, like water's getting in. Plus you don't know where you're driving because there's debris all over, and I'm like, I don't want to drive and then
a flat tire.
get a flat tire in the middle of this water because you drive over some piece of wood with nails, right? So
Right.
finally I found there was so many abandoned houses. So one of the abandoned houses I was like up higher up, just went right into literally like almost by their porch. I just pulled up and just left the truck there, and put on my swimming trunks again, and I just jumped in, with my flip flops and just started walking. And
now we can laugh about it, but
Yeah.
I'm sure at that moment,
no, and then
I was worried. I
and it
mean,
was about a half-hour walk. I thought it would be much closer, but no, it was a half-hour walk, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, finally, I think, and that's when it was also like I saw that, like when you're walking and you see the people on sitting through the window, some of them like waving to you, and I'm like, are you okay? Yeah, we're good. We're good. Are you okay? I'm like, no, yeah, I'm looking for somebody. Oh, okay. And they're like, is anybody coming to help? I'm like, I don't know. Like, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of people.
Like madness, like everybody's, especially if it's your first, right?
Yeah. And like, and also just all this destruction with, like I said, our town was like this vacation town, people come
It's
and
a
it's
beach town.
beautiful looking town, and now it just looks like a war zone, right?
it does.
Like a bomb went off. So
It really does.
all the trees are down, all these like buildings are,
Nothing compared to Fort Myers, but
no, still, but even that, like every so on, buildings are like you see like a
Yeah.
building or part
half
of a building
roof is
down. Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
And yeah, it was bad. And then finally, I'm like, I see Krisia's, parents, the apartment building, and I'm like, I'm still standing there, okay. And I get to there, and the water was already kind of receded, as in it wasn't even on the first floor, but you could see marks that the water got up to the first floor, but it never, I could see right away, it never got up to the second floor. I go up the stairs, and her mom, I think, was painting her nails.
She was doing her nails because there was nothing else to do. She was just waiting to be rescued. And
Yeah.
she's like, Mom, it's going to do my nails.
And I just come in, and I'm like, what are you crazy people doing here? And they're like, are you okay finally? I'm like, yeah, but what are you? I'm like, why didn't you leave? We don't want to leave. I'm like, oh, are you okay? Yeah, we're good. I'm like, all right, pack your bags. You're going to my house. Oh, your house is okay? Is it? I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm like, oh, nothing happened? No. They were sure our house is gone.
So then come to find out my dad, because it's mostly my dad. He's very, very stubborn. So my dad was like, no, I'm not going to stay at Krisia's house because that's the first one that's going to go. That's the first house that's going to go. So my parents said that, after they did this video and they sent us that last message around 4 o'clock, my dad said that the winds picked up like to 155 miles per hour. And, they saw that water was leaking through the windows and through the underneath the door. So my mom was, it's like, okay, let me start kind of drying it up because they didn't want it to puddle. And my mom is drying this, and then like in the movies, the door just swung open, boom, hit her right in the head, in the back, because she was.
So like broke the locks, basically.
It broke the lock, and knocked the wind out of my mom. But at that point, there was no time to be like, my head. No, she had to get up. And my dad quickly got up too, and they were both pushing the door. I mean, it was that strong that they couldn't do it by themselves. They have this big like buffet table
with like solid stone
with
top.
solid stone, like marble top, very heavy. You need a few people to carry that thing. And so they were trying to like, slide it, and then they have it right next to the door. So they were sliding it, and my mom was like, nope, that thing kept pushing that table like it was a piece of paper. And my dad, again, trying to push the door, trying to put that buffet table. Meanwhile, my mom is trying to grab the biggest sofa they have in the house to put it in front of that other table. My mom slips and she scrapes. My poor mom, she got hurt.
I mean, I can imagine the fear, though.
Because my dad was the one holding the door while my mom was trying to push all these items, for him to put in front of the door.
Right.
And she said, no, it was still opening. And my dad said, we were sitting there, and he saw when that door swung open, and the latch, would it be the latch?
Yeah.
Right? Not the doorknob, but, on the side of
the bolt and the bolt, yeah.
Yeah, on the wall. He said it just flew inside the house. So the lock was broken. And, they were trying, he said they were trying for, like, at least 4 hours to close that door, just like the older
Yeah,
couple.
so their arms were, when I picked them up, they were like the next day.
A big black bruise because she was trying to bring like heavy stuff, and while she was grabbing these things, they all fell, and she hit herself here. And he said finally around 9 o'clock, that's when it calmed down. But my mom is like traumatized. She said that she would hear this like howling right from the wind, this noise that seemed like a howl, and she knew it was like coming again, like it was making the rounds, right? Something like that. And yeah, they were scared. They were scared. But once,
scary situation.
yeah, so
Yeah.
once it calmed down a little bit, and they just put all these things on the door. My dad, I think at that time, he fixed the so they can lock their door. And then at that time they started to mop because their living room did get flooded, because while they were trying to keep that door closed, water was still coming in. And at that time, so they went to bed really late and tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their story. But now they know that they don't want to stay again.
But yeah. Next time, make sure you evacuate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it. And
Oh,
but thank God you could say nothing happened to them in the end.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it was, yeah, like I said, it was bad. Like, so, like just walking around, looking at like our house, looking at the neighbors' homes and all that stuff. Like, let me see if I can find some pictures. Like this is, I forgot, this is the street in front of one of the homes here.
That looks like by your mom's house.
Yeah. So this was already the
Looks like a lake.
Yeah, this was the third day. Was, I think, after.
Then
Or
it was
no,
on
it
Thursday.
was
on
Thursday, the second day. Yeah, and then like, so for example, just to get, like, you see that lake over there, that's not a lake. That's a golf course over there, and there's homes there, and those homes got it really bad. And this house here, it's like I said, the water was a bit higher, but and then you go down that street there, it got even worse. But like you see, like this is the debris that we just saw, like around the house. This is around our one of the rentals or houses that we have, the pool cage. And then somebody's actually no, this is a neighbor's house that their pool cage fell in, and they lost their roof. This is one of our homes that somebody's shed, I think it was, flew up in the air and literally landed in here. And we had this whole pool cage here, right, with a mesh and like a little barrier. It's all missing because it's basically inside. So we had to get all that stuff out. It's another angle of that. But you can see that the day was beautiful. But just to get to here, we had to literally trek through like muddy waters, because otherwise, you like you see, this is us here walking, because this whole street was just yeah, and you couldn't go there like that. There was a car there that like ended up getting stuck.
Oh man.
Because he tried to drive there on the grass, and it just was just pure mud, right? This is where
my parents live.
Yeah, and this is like their pool area, and they have a little canal there. Well, it turned into a big river, as you can see, and one of the boats just ended up up here. So stuff like that happened. But then you also see, this is somewhere else. This is, like, for example, like one of these. This is River Street. This was already the 2 days after, so when the water was already receding, but it was still water there.
Friday.
Yeah. On Thursday, this was, like I said, it was like up to here, up to my the truck door. This is one of another house that we have rental that the pool cage actually somehow survived. I mean, like I feel kind of lucky. Now I gotta say that this is at night in front of our house, because there's no power, and that's another thing that, like, I guess most people don't think about it, and I know I didn't. Is that you have no power, no water, and this is Florida. It's hot. And it's not the most comfortable. And these are actually our older neighbors from across the street. So this was the first night I spent with my parents-in-law and our neighbors, because they were also just tired. They were by themselves in the house. Yeah. They had nothing to think to because nothing works. So they couldn't cook. They couldn't do anything, because everything's electrical these days. And in my RV that survived somehow.
Yeah.
And everything survived, by the way, like all of our things, which I was like, whatever, if it goes, it goes, it's not the end of the world. But somehow all these things survived of ours, while other people lost literally their whole homes, like even on our street.
That's true.
Yeah, you guys got really lucky.
Homes.
Yeah, we got really lucky. And so this, for example, like I remember I set up the RV and I have propane in there, so we were able to and I filled up water before the hurricane. So we were all able to take a shower, a hot shower. We were all able to cook and have a hot meal. And like, I remember like, when I came into their house, they were just like depleted. They were exhausted, obviously, but just sad. Like their kids were away. They couldn't fly in because of all the airports are closed. And
it's nice that you guys were able to like include
Yeah, so it was thing, and I remember like by the end of that dinner, oh my god, they were like hugging, we're all hugging each other, we're all laughing, and they all said like, it's such a difference, right? Like to be able to sit down with somebody, have some light, eat something, warm, and thing, and so these are some of the other like the homes and sort of the damage you could see in the area, but yeah, it was. It was definitely an experience in terms of what do you call it? Like it brings you together closer and makes you appreciate a lot of things too, right?
Right.
Because
they would.
Yeah.
That's what they say. They say something like the worst times you can have can bring people really together, like during disasters and tragedies.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the thing. You could say good thing. There's bad things, obviously, because then that's when we started kind of going around and finding out from all the neighbors, like, oh man, this guy lost a house. Like there was a beautiful house on our street that I always admired walking by, and like half the roof is gone. So, and then I just saw them. They were just grabbing their things, packing stuff, and they were like leaving because it's thing. And then I spoke to another couple close to one of our rentals. They also their home got badly damaged. And they they've been there for like 30 something years, and they said,
"Oh, that's sad."
Yeah, they said like that we're moving, going with our, I think it's their kids or some family up north, and I'm like, but how come? Like you can rebuild and all that stuff, and they're like, no, we cannot afford insurance, so the house is gone. And that's sad because at least, when you have insurance, whatever, at least that gets covered, and it's still sad because you're like displaced, but it's something maybe you can even build a more beautiful house. But in that case, no, they lost everything. They had this garden, they were doing stuff, and then all of these years they were there. And
that's the tough part about living when you live somewhere where it has like these kind of things, and then if it happens and you're unfortunately the unlucky one, you can really turn your life upside down.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things, I guess, that sort of you realize, and then also seeing then the destruction in some of these other parts. So for example, this was already like here, us sort of cleaning up around one of the homes. So like this is just the stuff we pulled out of the pool. My son is here.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of work. Like the whole, then I wasn't able to go to work, right? Obviously Friday too, and then the whole weekend just working on that, pulling stuff out of this pool, trying to also if there's any leaks, trying to cover those on the roof, so in case it rains, stuff doesn't. I think this is one of the streets over from our house, and like this giant tree. Literally, this is
the roots.
I mean, taller than the house. The roots. It ripped up the whole thing. And these homes got it bad because they have like golf courses on the other side, so they're not shielded, and the wind was coming from that side.
So it would have blew everything over there.
Yeah, all of these homes pretty much are like they look fine from this side, but when you go from the back side, they're just all ripped up. Like you see there, they're kind of covering with tarps, but most of these homes were destroyed completely. And there's one guy that we know there who is like cutting our grass and kind of taking care of our other properties, and and he's like, no, do you know anybody anywhere where I can stay and thing? And I'm like, all right, I'll let you know. And he's like, even a trailer or something, because he says like, I have got nowhere to stay, nowhere. His house is destroyed. These are some of the streets kind of driving by. This is already when people cleaned up though. This is a few days after. And more of these trees down. And yeah, just a lot of destruction. This is me. What was it? You're recording? Oh, me trying to salvage some things from the rubble for our house. So stuff like that. Yeah, this is from our pool. I'm kind of, thinking, okay, how can I rebuild some of those things? Some of the damage. And this is really sad. So this is Fort Myers Beach. This is, like I said, 15, 20 miles from us. And this is, I don't know if you recognize, this is the pier, right, that goes on the water where we did the video.
I know where it is.
And right there will be the whole Times Square area where the guys were playing with music. And this basically is that street that would walk. There will be ice cream shops here, remember? Yeah. There were bars. It's all gone. It's just sand.
Oh, it's a beautiful place to hang out.
It was very cool. So I just don't see, even if they do rebuild eventually, it's not going to be the same.
I think they said they're not going to rebuild in that area.
And whatever did survive, like you see these buildings just moved away, and it's just, and just like sand washed all of it. And like just knowing that like a few weeks ago, we were there, and it's just weird, like seeing that distraction. And so like every day now that we drive, I kind of see that, and it kind of reminds me like, oh man, like some things I'm just not gonna be the same. Also hearing every so on or seeing people packing up and going like, okay, because as people realize every day, like some people try to save their homes, but they realize mold is showing up in their walls, then this damage, that damage, and they're like, yeah, we. And also, we're lucky because, like I said, our homes didn't really sustain that much damage. And we, and not only that, but we got water after like 3 days, I think, or 4 days, right? Which was so nice to take a shower.
We got water, I think.
And now
On Saturday.
Maybe no, Friday, Sunday, I think. Yeah. Anyways, and then today, right, which is Tuesday, basically almost a week later, we got our electricity back. So, which is nice. But for example, neighbors across the street even don't have electricity, so they can't keep food. Everything keeps on spoiling. They can't cook anything. Like those things make a difference. But at the same time, I gotta say, like a lot of people come together, help each other. Seeing the army come in, like they're giving out all these points where they're giving away, because we, for example, even us, we have water, but just to wash, but you can't drink that water.
Yeah, we can't drink.
It's still poisonous. So we we go pick up the water to drink and stuff like that. So, those are the things. Some of the nice things I noticed, though, was like, I remember when there was no electricity, nobody had electricity. There was beautiful night, like the sky, you could see all the stars because there's no light pollution. And then it almost felt like we were camping. I remember like when the neighbors would come over and we'd all be, in the RV and stuff. And then we would just go outside for a walk, and then you just so quiet at night and you just see the stars. And so that was kind of cool. At the same time, it's kind of weird because you're in the middle of a city and it's so, how it is.
They all quiet and it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And I think now, I remember there was one guy told me basically, well, actually two people, oh, like you got to like clean up your home in front of your home. Don't leave anything because there's people looting. But then I realized, no, it's just like people just, I think, want to hear it on the news or whatever. I've never seen or actually heard even one case of anybody looting. So I got to say that I'm happy. I don't know whether it's because mostly older people live here in our area or what, but
yeah, maybe.
But I think
there was no looting. Have you heard of any case?
No, I think mostly in Naples or Fort Myers.
Oh yeah, losing your voice.
Yep.
Yeah. So I haven't heard anywhere here in Florida like any actual case where people are like stealing or because there's all these abandoned homes kind of now, right? And or certain people who don't live here, they just have a kind of winter home, and then their home got destroyed, so like, you could just walk in and grab things. But yeah, I haven't heard of anything actually. So I just heard at the beginning two guys told me they were kind of worried about it, but I haven't seen that. So and not only that, but I've seen a lot of people helping each other. There's also gouging. I mean, like our neighbor had somebody come in and because he needed like all these trees. One tree landed on his roof. And needed to get all that stuff off, and like one guy told him, "Yeah, I can do it, $6,000." Like, whoa, that's a lot of money, right? So today he finally found some other like crew that did it for $400. So some people will be gouging. There were some people who were selling, like water or dry food for like ridiculous prices. But then, like I said, the army came in and distributed the food, the dry food, and the water. So
today they told you that somebody passed by sandwiches and like.
Oh yeah, they were actually dropping off, like seeing if whoever doesn't have power, they would drop off food and stuff. So that's that's also a nice thing, and it's
very nice.
In some way brings people together closer. Those kind of events. Now it also makes you think: do you, can you build a life right in a place like this? But I don't know. What's your conclusion?
I've heard about it. I also like read people. I'm losing my voice.
It's okay.
People asking, why would you live there if you know that these type of things happen? And this is our first big hurricane where we actually evacuated. So we didn't live through it, if that's a way to put it. But you get your good, but you also get bad, So you just gotta pick.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place here. I mean, I gotta say, it's a beautiful, like couple minutes you want to be on the beach, go to the beach. Yeah. Just beautiful weather most of the year, all that stuff. It's just you have those hurricanes every so on, and it's every year we get hurricanes, but most of them, like that meme I sent you, it's like, whatever, small hurricane, it's better because less tourists on the beach. We just relax. But then when it's when it really gets crazy, then and those come very rarely. Right. So, but I also feel though like somebody once said that I heard that they were saying that I'd rather live in Florida. At least when a hurricane comes, you can prepare for it. You can leave because you hear about it days in advance. Versus like places like LA, when an earthquake comes, you get some. If you do get any warning, it's like minutes. Sometimes seconds, and that's it. So. Or when you live like in the Midwest where they have the tornado valley where tornadoes just pop up, and again maybe 5-minute warning and you got to run before it sucks you in and your whole house. So there's things happening, I guess, all over the world. Some places are safe.
It's like Australia where everything can kill you.
I guess, yeah. and even where like I lived there in the Toronto area, and like. Well, I remember there was bad flooding. So remember that one year it was really bad flooding. Like all of the
we've had our own. We had like a few storms, and we had the ice storm, and
that in the winter can get really bad where people actually die.
We had an ice storm where there was a lot of damage, man. Yeah, everywhere has their own stuff.
Yeah, everything. Now, maybe some places are safer than others, but I guess, what? I look at it like life is never permanent. I mean, we all die in the end too. So it's not like, you obviously want to take care of your body and your health, but you also got to not get too used to this body because, you're going to have to, leave it behind.
Yeah.
Just like
you got to take the good with the bad, right?
Yeah, and just like a house. I mean, a house is a house. You work, you want to make it feel like home and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, you just got to accept whatever happens, you go on. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess not everybody thinks like you.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, some people get very emotional.
Or emotional because they probably worked really hard and, maybe they don't have the funds to rebuild like that family, or they just don't have the energy anymore to rebuild it and go through it again and go through it as many times as, we might go through it again and we'll be okay. But, everybody makes their own decisions and, we're staying. Clearly our house is okay. Our everything is okay. And, we're trying to help as much as we can. I know Thomas helping a lot of people around, and I have to stay with the kids. So it's not like I can help my neighbors across the street or the people closer to me. But I don't know. I like it over here, but I also love Pennsylvania and.
Yeah, I mean, well, you love everything. I mean, I love Europe. I love Canada. I love so many cool places. I love South America.
Like, I was gonna say
But for our home base, I do like it here. I mean, it is,
I mean, nothing really scares me.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Living in New York and having to walk to the subway and walk to work in the middle of a snowstorm and then leaving work early because there's this.
Remember we had a giant hurricane and flooding in New York too. Remember one year?
Remember Hurricane Sandy hit New York.
We were there.
We were there for a week. We didn't lose power, thank God, but the subways didn't work, and I wasn't able to.
People in New York, actually, people turned nasty. I remember after that storm, when power went out, people couldn't get gasoline. People were fighting at the gas stations, yelling.
Yeah, we had a gas station not too far from where we lived,
and that was actually nice. Here, I gotta see people kind of take it. I've seen a few people snap, but.
Well, all I'm saying is that I'll live anywhere if I love it. So
I mean, you got used to having an alligator in your backyard, right?
Yeah, and then Tom kicked him out.
I didn't kick him. No, he still comes back.
He doesn't. You took his place.
For a while I had well, anyways, I put my canoe there, but I took it away.
That was his sun tanning spot.
Yeah. But so it's thing. It is. I gotta say, it's bad for the people because, like I said, so people who were south of us, they got and that's what I guess I would say is that even though we got the eye of the storm pretty much, we kind of got lucky in that we had really strong winds. So that whatever the wind didn't destroy, it pretty much survived. Whereas people south of us, like Fort Myers Beach, they basically got all the water, and that was another weird thing. Even when I was driving on the day after. I could see in some of the rivers and canals around Tampa, the water was missing. Like there's a huge bay there. There's all this, and literally water was missing from there. And I'm like, what's going on? And that's because all that water got sucked by the storm and it got pushed south, and that's what flooded all those things. So, even though some of those places south of us didn't maybe get as strong winds, they got more destroyed because all those huge waves came and just covered everything, you know, and yeah, it just covered things. So a lot of damage there. I mean, you know, we're here slowly getting, like I said, power back. We're getting electricity back, and it feels nice to be kind of, you know, we have some internet. I can go back to work, but there's people, you know, and we still have like little issues like getting gas. Like today, you know, her parents called me. There's a gas station. They have gas because otherwise you're waiting like, you know, for 1 hour basically in a lineup, or unless you manage to cut in line, like somebody did. I won't say who, but you do stuff like that, and then south of us, you know, we have family there and friends, and like, you know, I just spoke to John. He's like, we still don't have water. Can't take a shower, and I'm like, we just got water, you know, the other day. I'm like, you want to come take, you know, stay with us, the shower and thing. But they're like, no, I think we'll make it. They're just, you know, like kind of like we did at the beginning, just whatever you could save, or you take down the bottles of water and you just do the little military shower and just splash around, and that's it, you know. And so, you know, and so over there, they really still have it bad because it's not like they can. And that's the thing. Like when it comes to some of those things, like when it comes to power, for example, like here it was just damage. They had to reconnect the lines. But over there, like some of these whole power stations are completely gone, just washed away. So they're saying it's going to take months for them to at least to rebuild a few of these so they can power some of those parts of the city. So some of those cities there south of us, you know, it's going to be bad. But we'll see how things goes. I see COVID really got you.
Yeah, some did. It's not COVID, but it feels like it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, some kind of cold. You know how it is when you have kids, man. They go to school and that's where germs are born.
And it's getting it's getting chilly over there.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, it's starting to. Yeah. But I think it's just there's some sort of flu going around. So, you know, my son started coughing yesterday, and now I start feeling a crap today. So.
The life of a parent.
I know.
Yeah, the things you do for your kids, right? All these germs they bring back to you.
Yep. It's like a science experiment.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyways, I guess that's it. I don't know. You got anything else to add?
No. Just visit Florida. It's fun. But
no,
give us a couple of months to get it together.
Well, yeah, this area, but
yeah, outside of the hurricane, yeah, definitely it looks like a very nice place.
Yeah.
No, it is. It is really nice, and I think in a couple of months things are gonna start looking much better.
Oh, you like now, even like day by day, you can see what a difference the cleanup and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
the cleanup makes. Such a difference.
I mean, like if this is something that's that happens there, I'm sure they have like protocols in place to get things cleaned up quick.
Yeah, no, the governor had like a whole.
They've actually done a pretty amazing job because from what I was hearing, like again, 18 years ago, Hurricane Charlie,
they were prepared now.
They weren't as prepared. And that storm, like there were people in our area that like a month and a half later, they still didn't have power, they didn't have water. Like they were just living, you know, just basically really desperate at that point. Right.
Right.
And whereas now, I mean, the fact that within literally a week, you know, areas are already coming back to life and all that stuff, it's pretty amazing. And I guess I also gotta give a big thanks to all the people because there's all these people. Now I know some of them, you know, volunteer, some of them getting paid good money because of all this, you know, the funding that's federal and state funding. But regardless, it is hard work. Like we have all these rentals, and you know, none of our homes, you know, that we're renting have power. Some of them I think get water now. But they're, you know, and they're in a rough shape. They're kind of, you know, dirty and all that stuff. But people were like right away, like, "Hey, can we rent your house?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, at first I was shocked. I'm like, "Who the hell would want to rent a house now?" You know, it's a mess on the street. We got no power, we got no water, and they're like, "No, it's okay. We're a crew." You know, I remember the first guys that contacted us was a crew that it was tree removal, and they're like, "We don't care about power or anything. We just need somewhere like to actually lie down in the bed." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then yesterday we had somebody else check in the night before, and like always new people. So we had people from the power company, and they're coming from there's one group of people from Pennsylvania, some from Tennessee, Texas, Louisiana, like, and they're they
were ready before the storm. They were already here, lined up. They were all north of Florida, in the north part of Florida, just waiting for the hurricane to pass.
They knew it would be bad, and
Yeah, they knew it was gonna be bad, so I guess they were waiting, and right away, as soon as Thursday,
Yeah, no, they were here.
morning, that the skies cleared and the water, the
And
rain
those
stopped,
guys,
they came.
yeah, and they work hard because, like, for example, the night before, I got a call at like 8. Can we rent this house, that you have? I'm like, yeah, sure. Right? I'm like, it doesn't have power. Oh, it's okay. We don't care. We're just tired of sleeping on the sidewalk. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, who are you, right? And then I spoke, and then to them, and then they're like, no, we're working with the recovery crew, but we're working with the I guess army. What is it? The National Reserve or whatever they call them.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, anyways, the army, the U.S. Army here. And so, they're like, and I remember it was like loud when I was talking to them and like, where are you right now? And they're like, we're in the tent. They're giving out the last meal of the day. And then we got to go to sleep, right? And I'm like, okay, what time are you going to get into the house? And I'll open the door. They're like, maybe around 10, 11. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they're like, yeah. And then we were out by like 5:30 a.m. We got to be out. I'm like, wow, okay. So these guys work around the clock, and think that's why it's amazing. But they're bringing all this power and everything, water back, and clean up infrastructure, all that stuff. So even like on the streets, like because the street lights don't work, so some of these streets were chaotic.
Yeah.
And you always see now like military cars and cops together with them, all working to like direct traffic,
Control traffic. Yeah.
and all that stuff. So it is pretty amazing to see.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, if many other like third world countries, and I know having lived in one, when things are not coordinated as well, I mean that little thing comes, nothing even as big as destructive as this hurricane, and like life just shuts down. I mean, I remember so many times as a kid we would have no water, nothing, and like you can't, we didn't live in a town where you had a river or anything, and then after 2 days. Without warning, you got no water, so everybody's like suffering and this and that. And after 2 days, a truck comes in with like a little bit of water, and everybody runs out with buckets to get water from it. I remember as a kid, like that was our job. Like my mom would give me a bucket and be like, "Go, get as much water as you can." It's like we can wash and cook something and things. So here, it's pretty amazing how and the fact that the whole country got together and kind of came and
yeah. So it was good to see that.
Yeah.
Pretty sad, but also nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to know. Like the humanity part was
exactly.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyways,
that's it.
Come visit Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe it might not be the best advertising.
Florida. Just don't come around September, October, November.
Yeah, just keep it to the summer months.
They're nice months. It's just if a hurricane comes, then yeah.
Exactly. So.
Just not that time.
All right. Anyways. Hopefully the next episode is going to be more uplifting.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Glad you guys are okay, though. And at least that's the silver lining, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
we
true.
lived
We're
through it.
Okay.
We survived.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.